I don't know. I mean, are you reading anything? Like, have you read anything that you've liked recently, either comics or not?
I haven't read any comics that I liked recently, and I want to. He's like, you tell me to read this and that and this and modern poetry. I don't know what you're talking about. That is a bad dinner guest.
Was he bad? He was...
No, he was like Tony, I think. Kind of subversive.
Would he ruin a dinner party?
He would be...
With his views?
No, but he was more charismatic, I think. He wouldn't...
Yeah.
He wouldn't alienate people. Well, I think he would alienate the normies or something. He was actually he was like a aristocratic guy in Poland, and then he lost all his money and everything in the war, and then he was exiled in Argentina.
Huh.
Well, he didn't speak good Spanish.
Well, he was like a promising young writer at like 35 or something. To Argentina, and he just happened to be there, and war broke out. And so he was stuck there. Then he became like this obscure, impoverished writer, and he had to become a clerk after like this glorious beginning to his life.
And he's like stuck.
And then so at 49, he was like a bank clerk, and he published several books, but like nobody knew about him.
Was he friends with Borges?
He wrote about Borges. He seemed to be friends with everybody. He was like a socialite.
Yeah.
But he was like so poor that people would just give him books to read, and then he would do scathing reviews of them. But he was really like, I don't know, he's just like always speaking against the like established thoughts and ideas of the time. But he reminds me of Montaigne. You know Montaigne? He lived in his tower and he just wrote these essays.
I've heard of him. I don't know. I've never read anything. Michael de Montaigne or whatever.
Michel
de
Montaigne. Celine.
No, there's certain personalities, like Socrates, who just questions every single one. And like poetry itself would be
just to be contrary
considered subversive, because he was like this celebrated aristocratic person with all these,
This is too bright.
hopes, and then he ended up like Bukowski, basically, like a nobody.
Yeah.
So he had this real...
So you went backwards.
He was bitter.
Whereas Bukowski was just like, I got a film deal, and then he
was like so open about his bitterness too.
He's like, now I'm working at the post office again.
But like the fact that he was just like so like brazen about his bitterness too. Like I think that like everybody's bitter, but they just hold it down. But like you're just like, I'm a bitter man.
Dumb people aren't bitter.
In some way, it's like I'm trying to work something out. I don't know what it is, but then it's like.
So it's in code like that you're trying to decode it.
Kind of. I mean, I think in this kind of surrealist way, it's like I'm like I don't know. I just have this like dumb idea. I'm gonna carry it through. Like Groutsis is now a Satanist, and he's like this mouse is a Satanist. In high school, and his teacher is seducing him, but she keeps turning into the devil. Well, it's like I get interested in stuff. I don't know why I'm interested in it. I try to unite things,
right?
And I don't know what my thesis is about it, and I just go forward, and then it's kind of like something emerges.
So you go forward without a thesis. You start without a thesis.
Yeah, and then, or it's just like it'll be like a funny idea. Like, what if he's in a time loop where his teacher keeps seducing him, but then she turns into the devil, and then he wakes up and it starts all over, and he's in class, and then he's like, oh, maybe it was a dream. Okay, that would be funny if I could make that happen over and over and over again mechanically. Right. It would be ridiculous, but I don't have anything to say about that. Then later I'm like, why was I drawing like a mouse and the devil, and like why did I have to draw like a sex scene that went on and on? I guess I'm just like horny and wanted to draw like this ridiculous sex scene.
Can we just like look at this?
I don't know if I can even explain it to myself. I don't even know why I'm doing it.
There's no need.
And then also like I'm also at a certain point after drawing it, I'm like, oh, I'm not horny anymore. I'm just doing this weird boring thing. That's like I should keep going with this because it was funny. I don't know why I'm doing it. And then I realized later, oh, it's all encoded weird shit. I'm like, this is about in high school when I realized I could draw comics and I could have some sort of power instead of Satanism. I'm like, this is not about invoking the devil. This is about like wanting to like impress people with being an artist or something.
You are invoking the devil the same as some dude who's like, I'm going to start a band so I can get chicks.
Yeah.
But then you have to invoke the devil to do that, to be in the band, or to draw. You're like bringing up.
So is the devil?
Yeah, it's like this Faustian pact. But I think, okay, this is what coming back to like this idea about directness or indirectness, and with a question that I think would be, I kind of want to ask you, Gabrielle, is like, so like, this all becomes indirect autobio, and I'm like, at the end of it, then I'm like, fuck, if I just had the courage to like draw like something that was direct about my feelings, it would probably be a lot better than all this like coded nonsense. So then I think, oh, like I could never do that. I would be like Witold Gombrowicz, and everybody would hate me.
And
like,
you think
I would repulse everybody.
But you wouldn't have any protection. You're just being straight up. This is what I think about.
If I said that, I don't think I would last very long. I don't think
with yourself or with the public.
I don't think people would like me anymore. I don't.
So
I would just reveal what I thought about it.
What if you did, and then
people would actually like you more?
No. Do you know what they? But see, you're projecting here. Are you ever done analysis?
No. But am I?
This
yeah.
is so beautiful.
So that's very
I'm
Italian.
projecting onto these people.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of guarded way of proceeding that I think like I don't know. Well, I don't know.
The thing is, I feel the opposite. I'm like, if only I could figure out how to be indirect, which is like to trust. Like what you're doing is trusting like this other voice inside of you and just like letting it sort of guide you. Like I wish that I was more like that because I feel so literal. It's just like,
Gabrielle, you used to do more stuff like that. Like you were unguided before.
Yeah, it was.
You're like, where is this? I'm going to draw this, and then it's going to go to that, and where is that going to take me? And I'm just going to draw that thing.
Yeah.
No.
Games of like mixing up fiction. I mean, I do like that when I read through, and I know that some ones are more like, I'm like, okay, what is it called? My Affliction.
Yeah, that one.
And I'm like, okay, this is like an experiment, and
like that.
This is like, but then I'm like, oh, when I'm reading the autobio, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, you still don't know.
But I usually think it's not.
There's something magic though. It's just like this alchemy. Like this here, it was like this fantasy situation with the mouse and the teacher and like the crazy devil and sexual situations. It's just like, it seems to me like a sort of Satanist magic to even create this.
Well, I think, okay, also I'm not...
Satanist, but like...
No, it is kind of like, it is really intense. It's drawing really small and not penciling also is another rule. So there's like tons of mistakes, but then also I'm trying to push it where I'm like...
Yeah.
I'm also
because
like...
you're trusting yourself there too. Like there's something very powerful about like just trusting this other part of yourself.
I think this goes into good and bad, and like, okay, so one way of like trying to dismantle good and bad, I feel like cartoonists are always fixing their mistakes and trying to make something better.
Yeah.
And then an artist is like, this is my hand, and I'm just.
Yeah.
That's how I.
Yeah, God goes through it, and it's not my thing. I don't know what's going on.
But
they have that license, and cartoonists don't have it because of so many different reasons.
Yes, totally. But it is like a tension. Like you do have to hone your craft, and which you obviously have. And then to hone your craft, you do have to like question your like second guess yourself and keep trying to just get better, which means redrawing or penciling and inking. But like just, once you got your craft honed to some degree, then it's good to like let go of that control.
But Matthew, do you when you draw this panel, do you know what the next panel is going to be, or you have a plot? You don't know.
No.
You're just going from one to the other, like
Definitely
doing
not.
a song and just beginning with the first lyric is Lisa. I don't know.
And then the second one is
It's like-
So you're doing a jam.
Alicia.
You're doing a jam with yourself.
Well, but I think jam is like sounds too much like improvisation, and like I kind of think of it as like incrementally going forward, or like editing. I've thought of the metaphor of like when you edit in camera and you don't storyboard or you don't plan out the movie, you just go. You think, okay, I have A and B, and now, how can I go forward like incrementally to go to C, and then keep pushing it. But then sometimes it's like you get a bunch of ideas and you're like, okay, I kind of know how the next page is going to go. But then I actually am trying to resist that. I'm like, I don't want to like get too far forward. I just want to pretend that I'm like, like those Crumb comics where it's just like, he fucking just went into a sketchbook. Or like a lot of people...
Chris Ware too, he just gets in there, does it.
He starts in the corner too,
Starts
doesn't he?
and
And then goes...
works on down.
I also don't really think anybody can tell the difference that much, whether it's like penciled or not.
Yeah, that's... I mean, comics people can, but the other people, like me, I don't know. I'm not really interested in process, and everybody's like, I don't know. I guess it's interesting just at some point, but the cartoonists are just talking to each other.
Oh, sorry.
It's kind of
more
just like
yeah.
speed up. How can you speed up to get... This is also like, how can you get through an idea? Like, how can you speed up to get through the idea?
Why are we speeding up? Is life just basically we have less time?
Well, I want to speed up because I have like a kid, so I have less time.
Yeah.
And also like, so there was that, and then thank you, and then I think it's like also like anti-graphic novelism. Like I want to speed up to get further. Oh yes.
What if we draw with our left hand?
The entire time? Or
Just
just some
it's just
should
an
we start
idea.
with the left hand? Okay, we can start.
Okay, so
Is this
usually...
a brush pen?
Oh, not really. Usually what we do is we'll draw for a while and then we switch spaces so we can take over each other's drawings.
This is like Etch-a-Sketch, double Etch-a-Sketch.
With two different brains. It's the three-body problem where you don't know where it's going to, with the gravitational pull.
I never read that book.
Me neither. Wait, so tell us the...
I don't want to talk about that.
Fiction.
Let's talk about what you were talking about, Matthew.
Plotting.
Plotting, yeah.
Well, okay,
plotting.
so
plotting your plan.
Gabrielle, how
Okay, how do
do
I
you
draw
conceive-
more like you and how do you draw more like me? Is that...
Well, process-based stuff. I think of like a lot of your stuff as having like a process. Like the process is you will draw in the cafe, and that will be the comic. Or
Yeah, well, I think we have to have the parameters. Like you made the parameters of your story. It's gotta be a little just no penciling. I think I'm just working out my neurosis. I'm doing a whole different thing than you are.
what in what way? In what work? In recent work? What are you drawing right now?
Let's see.
Erotic.
Yeah, I think my stuff has to do with just trying to prove that I exist in the world, because there's something in me that doesn't feel like I'm alive or that I exist. And so I'll just draw a comic about walking feeding the geese in the park because like only a person that exists would feed geese in the park.
Wow. Matthew, do you believe that you exist? You're saying like, as a kid, like putting yourself out.
It's
in the
arguable.
World.
I don't know. Yeah,
you would draw yourself into existence when you were. Like,
I do feel like
I
do feel like art is more real than real life a lot of times. Like I feel like art is proof that I exist.
There you go. Yeah.
Making work is proof that you exist.
Just like dreams feel more real than life, even though life seems more.
No.
Like,
because it is more real.
It's more empirically real. Like you can prove.
You
that.
feel more.
But you were saying about dreams.
You mean dreams including like daydreams, desires, etc., or do you mean
sleeping
just
dreams.
like sleeping dreams?
Sleeping dreams.
Tom and Tony said this thing like you feel like you might be falling out of the sky and you feel that way. You think you're gonna die. Like you don't feel that way in regular life.
Not every day. Yeah, it's like or this incredible feeling of love. You can it's wow. It's
and then you wake
most
up.
Most of the time it's kind of banal though, isn't it? So.
Yeah, but then you just wake up and you don't feel those things. You feel nothing.
Yeah, the feeling of worry that I'm
Yeah.
going to release these sea moths
Right.
into my house.
Is that a recent dream?
There's a bag of sea moths
Whoa.
that was sitting outside this like aquatic center, and I was like, oh, they have a bunch of they delivered a bunch of these bags. I better take one inside my house. And so I brought one in, and I was like, oh, there's these stupid moths inside it, and they're all over my house. And then I think it was related to this summer when I saw this like termite hatching moment, and the whole yard was like covered with these termites. It was really like.
But you felt that it was a real anxiety, like it was a real emotion. Like, it'd be awful if this happened.
Okay, let's trade places.
Oh yeah, trade chairs. Okay, musical chairs. I felt at that moment. Well, that moment was not lasting.
Oh.
That emotion was not lasting. You're still going left hand.
Either way, that was just an idea.
That's a good start. I think maybe it's good for the constraint.
I was surprised that Austin said with his dreaming that he only dreams about the events that happen during the day, and they're all kind of boring. And the answer was, this artist has dreams that are just kind of like, well, I mailed these flyers out, and
He has a lot to do. He has a lot on his mind to do. I feel like for a long time recently, I haven't been I was like really annoyed with myself because my dream life sort of disappeared. I was like, this sucks. Like I'm missing out on this.
Was it because of the child?
I think maybe getting up at 6, like immediately waking up, Ada immediately waking up and like telling me her dream, and I was like, oh god, now I forgot mine. You jerk! Like, now it's all gone.
So they're taking over your dream life.
It's it's
You're
like
not
okay,
allowed.
fine, yeah, I'll listen to your like wonderful, and then I'm like scrambling to recall like one image that will get me back into that dream. It's fine. It's like totally indulgent to be able to remember.
I get the dream envy too. Like I get it. You wake up and hear an amazing dream.
But I think that when you're talking about drawing something to go back to what you said. You're drawing stuff.
Oh, to prove you exist.
To prove.
Like just to yourself and to others. And I do think I'm reading Gombrowicz, right? His diary, but his diary it was published all over the world in this big Cultura magazine. So but it's a very personal diary. And I think it's just like him, like I still exist. I'm just like buried over here, but I'm still existing.
I'm here.
Was he trying to prove it to his literary, his like, I could have been a contender?
I think there's something to that, yes. And then became a contender again through his diary.
Do you think that the act of creating another human being is a way of saying I also exist. You cannot take that away from me. Here's proof. You can see it right now.
You can't. It has an element of like, it's like, okay, solid. Like, I was here on Earth. Like, there's like, yeah, my lineage, here's my progeny, all those weird words. I mean, but it's also this like sort of annihilating self, like ego annihilating, where I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, I know I do on some level. I'm not going to get rid of like my ego, but I'm like, honestly, like, I could care less what happens to me now. It's like,
whoa, that is
like,
amazing.
He's much more interesting to me. Like his life is more interesting to me than my life now. In a way, like the quality of his life. Although I will still mechanically do things that are enjoyable to me, like try to have an art career, or try to, have fun, or try to see music, or like, I do enjoy those things, but it's almost like being like a weird camera going around and doing those things rather than, I mean, especially right now, because they're out of town for like 2 days, and it's just like, they've been out of town for a while on the West Coast still, and I've been like losing my mind because they're not here, and I feel like a weird ghost or something.
So you exist even less when they're gone. That is like a very articulate way of talking about parenthood. Like most parents are just like, you never know how beautiful it can be, but like.
Why would somebody want to create that barrier between you and them? I think it's to say that, yes, you are doing a lot of work. Mm-hmm. You are, yes, it is different than everything else in the world, but it's not unlike feelings that everybody either has or can have. It's like,
it
obviously,
sounds like enlightenment to me. You're just like, my avatar is here to do the work, but I myself don't matter. This other thing does.
Well, it's just more like, I don't know. It's sort of, maybe, it's not like it makes me want to sort of give up or cop out or retire or stop doing things.
Or give more purpose to your work?
It's just like, I'm like, I would like to share, like, I like all this stuff. I like music. I like film. I like making stuff. And like, here comes this person, and they seem to like be really into like hitting things, hitting the banjo, or like, laughing or cracking jokes.
But if an adult would come up to you and do the same thing, hitting the banjo, laughing hysterically for no reason, and you'd be like, that's an interesting person. I want to hang out with them.
Yeah, I mean, they're just like the best sort of people, because they haven't been, trodden on by capitalism for, however many years, or like,
socialism.
Or
feudalism,
or any
I mean
like a replacement. We were talking about before, like the replacement of your desires with bullshit, even including like societal, like, go to school, get a job, any of this stuff. This person doesn't care about job or anything.
Right.
He likes breasts, and he likes toys, and
it's pretty much
sound,
every punk rock song.
Well, yeah, I mean, go back to that, like, go punk rock. So it's like, I mean, turn your brain off, like, which is maybe like, I don't know, like,
is his brain on or off?
I mean,
is our brain off?
Comics should be a way, I think, some way. I think comics need to wake up to the fact that, like, it's a brainless medium. It needs to be a more brainless
medium. You know what? I have a special guest here, comics, and they're coming in a couple of minutes to explain their side of the story. Comics, are you ready?
The brain trust, brainy comics. But, like, what about, like, super flatulent, farty, fantastic fuckwads #1, or just like total ridiculous.
It's amazing to me that somebody can put so much work, and comics are so much dense work, into something so like that is just like a big fart joke or something. I can admire that.
You can do a anti-fart joke comic by a comic recommending a lactose-free diet. Okay, and then that would create an anti-fart phenomenon.
That would be like a moral. That's what I feel like comics are these days. When you go and they're like they're all lactose-free.
Right.
They're using the language of fart jokes to tell you why you should have a lactose-free diet or something. I'm really tired of comics.
Can you name names?
Didactic.
Prescriptive.
Because there's how many comics are there?
Names. Well, there's I don't know.
There's like 12.
There's like a comic coming out about like Louis Buñuel or something, or maybe there already was. There was a comic about Salvador Dali. There's a comic about.
Oh, you mean Louis Riel? Buñuel? Yeah.
That
was actually a good.
Louis Riel was good.
It was good. It was. I was shocked. I was like, oh, I like following these little squares around. That's one that I read.
I'm not really into his. I love Underwater.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's like shrunk his.
He's shrinking.
The Happy Clown is like the best comic
ever.
Yes. Ever.
Totally.
It's hands down the best comic.
Well, actually, like the paying for it, I kind of think like is interesting, like vis-a-vis this stuff about like morality or whatever. Like it's not like he's a bonkers like underground cartoonist, but he's definitely got an interesting and different sense of.
He's a bit of a
morality.
Right?
He's a bit of a what?
Like a Canadian, like Jordan Peterson type, maybe.
I think he's
a libertarian.
Libertarian.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that women tend to be put off by his ideas about sex and love, and I can relate to that.
But that's when he put that out. That was just, something that people have never seen before, maybe.
I felt like it was the most like procedural comic I'd ever seen about sex, like the least expressive comic I'd ever seen about sex.
Not very romantic.
It was the least romantic. It was like sex. Like
I think women are. I mean, there's something really frightening about that because women need that in order to have a connection.
I'm not sure because prostitutes don't do that.
I think. Well, I mean, that's a transactional thing.
Commerce. Yeah, it's about transaction. It's about transactions. It's about why transaction. Why should be reduced down to transaction? I mean, which is. I don't know. I don't really know what to think about it. I'm just kind of thinking. I'm on the more expressive. Like I want people to be jubilant and go wild and make extravagant. I guess romantic. Sorts of things that are like corny about like just drawing like Fritz the Cat is not romantic or something, but some of that work kind of is romantic.
I think there is romantic. Do you think that like in this social climate that it's very hard for people to express themselves because they're afraid they're going to get canceled, or not even canceled, but just like alienated for their supposedly incorrect views, which are not views but feelings. Like people are afraid to express their feelings.
Are you using the C word, Gabrielle?
What is the C word?
Cancel. We're going there.
I'm asking like maybe this is why people are not expressing themselves so much, is because it's like this is a thing. I mean, I know this is a very sort of but there's truth.
Yeah. Are you talking about
if you create a really strong image, it can transcend your work and go on to become like something like in the culture at large. And I feel like that would be like really cool if you were able to come up with an image that's almost like a meme that you lose control over, that is useful to like has some use value to the culture.
The hard right.
Well, it's like Pepe. I've been thinking about Pepe, but like then also like in terms of like cancel or whatever, I was thinking I also read E.A. Bethea, and that artist is really sassy. She's really sassy, and she has like.
I love her.
She comes from. I feel like she's writing a lot about, kind of, and is nostalgic for this kind of like older. She like writes about. She reminds me of Bukowski actually, or something. She's writing about like pool halls and like guys, having sex on the docks, and like just sadness, like in all these different ways, and like shitty job at the supermarket, and it's like there's a lot about desire, and I feel like she's maybe she's just letting her like freak flag. Oh, switch. She's just putting it out there. Herself is not, you know, her like might not be pretty what she has to observe about herself, but it's like very honest. And I think to go back to the coded thing, I'm like, shit, if I could just like say, you know, some honest truth, that would be like more useful to people maybe than all this like surrealist nonsense.
Why is it so hard to just say what you want and say what you feel? Why is that so? And in the context of comics, it is like very easy to just edit it and be like, okay, that was my first thought, but it's not valid, or let's try something different.
I don't know. I mean, are there any rewards for saying what you I mean, is there any versus like saying what you think you should say, or I mean, do you see there being like if you were to?
I think Elizabeth Bethia is being rewarded enough for saying what she feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think she should be like really, like, to me that's like kind of perfect comics, because they don't get too caught up in aesthetics or something. They're just like, there's an image and there's text, and the image and the text do interesting things together, and they don't.
But I like aesthetics. And your stuff is very beautiful, but maybe your stuff is sort of accidentally beautiful. That's not like the main, it's not the main focus.
I feel like I've been drawing the same hand for like 30 years or something. I can't get out of the same way of drawing a hand. I look at it like when I was 15, I'm like, shit, I never got any better at like drawing anything. You just figure out, you know, disguise this and that.
What was your first-hand influence where you learned how to draw a hand? Or your first-hand job, if you will?
My first job drawing a hand was, you know, there was like a catalog, and they had to have signs pointing from, you know, both sides, and look here!
You didn't just look at your own.
Well, that's interesting, yeah.
My first hand, I definitely was influenced by Wendy Petey.
Oh, yes.
Her hand,
the elf.
her handwork, the elf handwork.
I think the problem with comics is it's so easy to get stagnant for exactly that reason. You're like, I've been doing, like, there's something very dead about it. Like, you play music.
About the elf hands, or about what's
just
stagnant?
About like having drawn the same hand all your life.
Like Mickey Mouse's hands are
just
constantly for 100 years.
It does not have this, like, it's alive. Like, every time you play music, it comes alive again. But when you draw comics, it's just like, it's like a graveyard. You're just going back in the graveyard and just moving dirt around.
Really? That's how you feel, Gabrielle?
Yes.
Well,
just take another career.
I mean,
work at the supermarket.
No, it's not that bad. I mean, that hence try to come up with tricks to like throw yourself off. That's what I kind of think about the no penciling. I'm like, I just want to like. Also, comics, you know, no money, so like, why do them? I'm like, well, if I can do them real fast, maybe they can come out every 3 months.
You can make 1 cent.
This will be kind of worthwhile.
Yeah, I think the French trying to do that.
The Patreon, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just speed it up because no one's going to know the difference whether I pencil this or not, and like, just spew out more.
Do you have a Patreon?
Dream product. Yeah.
Plug it.
It's MatthewThurber.patreon.com, where you can join for a minimum of $5 and get Looking for the Cat sent to you aspirationally 4 times a year, but it's kind of slowed down since the kid, but you know, it's still a good deal.
It's funny that Ada is you guys, it's poetry and comics, which are super niche-y. Less even poetry, there's just a smaller world there. And no money.
Well, yeah, they're both very
Or teaching
idealistic.
is the...
idealistic art.
The highest art forms. There's music, poetry, then comics.
I mean,
in that order.
Poetry is very dematerialized. Like the best poetry, poetry is the most popular art form if you count like music and lyrics and stuff like that. Like everybody knows rap lyrics, but not everybody knows like can memorize a C.A. Conrad poem or a Elizabeth Bishop poem.
Yeah,
people don't memorize.
We
poems.
used to do that though. In Greece, we were taught to do rote memorization of like epic poetry. Like you have to, if you graduate, you have to just remember that ancient poem. I mean, and then people are like, "Oh, that's bad. You shouldn't make kids do that." But it's like there's something good about it.
That's the Western culture, Western civilization. We have to, abandon that. No, I mean, I think people should memorize. Yeah. I think the act of memorization is really, really amazing. Like I've been thinking about it, like in terms of like music practice, right? Like there's so many people who play music, but it's mostly a recording based practice, and like actually memorizing pieces is pretty lost, and like plays. I don't know. I saw a play yesterday. It was memorized. They memorized all the lines, and I was like, this is just really cool on a basic level, where it's like the magic of watching people like
it's pretty incredible
say things.
I was talking to somebody. Was it you, Gabrielle, that we were talking about memorizing? How you memorize something yesterday? Was it?
Might have been.
Yeah, and how like wow, that's like iambic pentameter makes it
Oh,
easier
yes.
because it's like the rhythm.
Yes,
but then now
it's very easy to remember Shakespeare. Like I played a character in Shakespeare.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
I don't even remember, but I do remember how easy it was to learn all my lines. Like it was just like because it was just like memorizing poetry.
And you said you went out in the woods, and then you would just have the pleasure of speaking them over and over and over again.
Yes,
just so
it felt very good. I'd walk in the woods and repeat my lines and over again until I got it, and it was a better time.
Well, it's like a physical thing too, which I think is like missing from art. Where it becomes too mental. A lot of art and writing and stuff, and it's like. I think if you go back not that far, you find more people having like a more physical dimension to their work, like either writing by hand or declaiming poetry live, or like cartoonists might be more like painters. They go out and they draw big, or even their pages were big instead of like. I mean, the drawing on the computer is like reduce the physicality of like
for sure.
to like. Making tiny marks, you zoom way in to like it's like you're pushing around electrons or something. It's like that's not drawing the way
it's like it doesn't
traditional.
exist, which is like when I drew on an iPad for a while with my Apple Pencil, and it felt like it just didn't exist, even though I labored over it for hours, and then I didn't back it up, and I lost 5 years worth of work. And I was like, well, it didn't really exist anyway.
It really doesn't exist. Well, that's the weird thing about digital. It's like it is kind of like this ghostly half existing. But you're talking about wanting to exist through the work, prove the existence of work. So that seems to be like pretty deadly if you mess around with non-existence.
I mean, it was like diary. Like it wasn't like I didn't lose any novels or anything.
Still, Gabrielle, if it was something that was important to you.
If it was important, I would have been more fastidious about backing it up.
Can you imagine like something like maybe Pollock doing a drip painting that takes up an entire 18 by 20 foot, and then just basically it starts to dissolve into the floor. He loses it forever.
Think of all the masterpieces we've lost forever.
I mean, I don't worry if I lose a phone. I've lost a phone and lost all the pictures, and I don't worry about it afterwards.
I don't either. I actually like it, or it's whatever.
It's part of your personality. Do you? How do you feel about technology and art though? Like, do you feel like you are very sort of like lo-fi, but you're still using technology? Like, do you feel like it's a sort of collaboration? Like, for me, like I like to draw on paper, but I still alter it a lot in Photoshop, which I think you do too.
Yeah, I mean, I always scan stuff in. I guess I have limited. Oh yeah, we should keep switching.
So the tools.
Should we turn it upside down?
No.
Or rotate it? No, keep the
So
orientation.
there's useful tools.
I like this landscape.
That make it
area.
go faster.
Sorry.
If
I
you want
mean,
to go faster.
it's just like I remember a time when people were like, "I'm going to mail in my drawings to the publisher." You
Yes,
know,
I
that was
remember.
not that so long ago. You could
Yeah.
still get away with that shit in the '90s. Then at some point they were like, "Actually, we just expect you to do all the scans and clean everything up yourself." And that used to be a step done by
Yeah.
other people. So like these old school people at the time when probably we were coming up, like let's say early 2000s or something, they could get away with just like mailing their shit to the publisher.
I think Joe Matt was still doing that, and I think that's sort of that's why he just tripped him up.
That's why he died.
Well, that's why he was having a hard time getting all his shit done. Like, he was like
What happened?
a slow
What,
machine.
he had a heart attack or something?
He died of making comics.
Are you serious? Yeah, probably. Right?
It is sort of like the
Yeah.
the slow death. But I think
R.I.P. Joe Matt. He was a dear man.
I think expecting all that stuff to be put to you to do that when your job should actually be to be the writing and the drawing. It's just kind of like cost cutting for publishers.
Yeah.
And I understand they don't have that much. Profit to they gotta cut costs. But so technology, I'm just like, the best description of technology I ever read was in this Rebecca Solnit book about Muybridge, called River of Shadows, and she said that technology is like a way of thinking, and I didn't ever think. I was always like, technology is like shiny and metal stuff and computers, and I was like, oh no, technos or something, gnosis, it's like,
Technique, which is
Technique.
a way of, and then gnosis, knowing a way of doing, knowing a way of thinking, or knowing a way of.
yeah, so a way of doing and a way of thinking, and like, so that's really cool to me. That opens up
Very
technology.
interesting.
That opens up technology to like memory as a technology, or so I'm like not really into. I think computers are fine.
But then your publishers, I don't know who
Not
publisher
fine.
is going
Evil.
to email you and say, it's okay, don't worry about sending that stuff in because we got AI to do everything now.
Well,
Including
ultimately,
the entire story.
if it's profit, if it's motivation, it's just profit.
Yeah.
People won't know the difference. They're two, unless it becomes a line in the sand where you're like, actually like. But I'm worried that people have become stupefied and they actually won't know the difference between something.
Well, you can shake them by the lapels or whatever the future that they'd be wearing on the top shirt, or if they have some kind of collar extension that you can shake them by.
I think that people will always recognize like that human burst of like that human drive. Like I just like the vulnerability or the pain or the imperfection, like the breaking thing. The thing that humans break. Like they can't be perfect. And humans will always recognize that in a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think that AI can do that.
So we could never aspire to having like a master race. Sorry. Because
I mean, the great dream,
Give up the dream.
I mean, you
the
artists
great
are just,
Elon
that's
Musk's,
why limiting, maybe on Mars.
That's what he's trying to do,
Maybe
right?
on
With
Mars.
having 9 digital babies or whatever they are. I mean, it does get into weird, fucked up eugenics shit. I think failure is really crucial to like and being human and like.
Beautiful losers.
At the same time, I'm like, okay, if somebody wants to draw their thing on a computer tablet, it looks just the same once you print it. I understand.
It doesn't look the same.
I know it doesn't. But
I've tried to use like different like kind of like a more crackly line, but
all that's. I mean, I'm not gonna like. I see two directions you could go. Right. One is like renunciation of all
yes.
technology, and then you end up being a fuddy-duddy.
Yes.
And then or like a crumb wannabe like Seth, or the other direction is like
Fully
embracement. And I'm like, okay, well, to what end? Like, I'm actually want to draw on paper faster.
Yeah.
I want to use my technique and my gnosis to like speed up to make things that they couldn't think of. Like,
yeah.
But shit, I don't know. Like, I see people using, technology like. I my problem with technology is I'm still so interested. I'm like, shit, I just found out about VHS. Like, I haven't quit. I have to
Still
keep
on
absorbing.
that format.
There's so much to think about. And I'm like, or film, or typewriter. The technology I like mostly is usually turn of the century or late 19th century. So I like the sewing machine, I like the typewriter, and I like
So there's something tactile that
instruments.
you do enjoy.
Yeah.
Do you like amplified music? That's not really true. It's loud.
Yeah, I like loud, amplified,
Okay, so that's
electronic.
not,
I don't know if I like. I like electronic music, but I think like everything else, it's just like, the more people get into playing modular synths and buying this shit, buying these patch cords, it's just like an expensive. It's just like people in the 50s buying expensive hi-fis. It's like,
my friend has an entire room. He's obsessed with it. He'll just buy more and more. He was like, you should get rid of some and just have one or two. He's like, no, I'm going to create this gigantic, like, the in like 1970s where they had like the computer room. It's all these like patches.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
it's very masculine. It's very Wizard of Ozzy.
You think
very,
it's masculine?
It's very buying. It's very consumery. And I'm like, why don't you just buy one piano and learn to memorize some mind-blowing shit?
He's also got a piano.
Like, okay, well, I mean, does he play
Yeah.
Scriabin?
Right.
I mean, it's just like more interesting. One
Right.
is actually interesting. The other is fake interesting to me, and they're having a big like synth fest, and it's like, Jesus, kill me.
Well, what about somebody like Dr. Frankenstein who has this entire castle and he's basically retrofitted it with like all this electronic stuff, and he's like he has a motive, which is like to reanimate life.
Well, what
I mean,
about
do you
just,
think it needs like hyper masculine?
Do I think?
like donating a library to the public after you're dead?
Like Dr. Frankenstein would donate his papers.
Yeah,
to
why
the-
not? Or
like,
like
this
a
is what I've done.
museum.
These are my failures. These are my experimental.
Was Dr. Frankenstein doing it for the people, or what was
What
he?
did he
What was his goal?
Yeah, I mean, no one asked him.
Why was he doing? Why was he making
Igor
Frankenstein?
should have been like, Doctor, I've been working with you for 23 years. I want to know what are we doing? Why do I have? What's your main ultimate purpose here?
Was there Igor and Dr. Frankenstein or original?
I think with Mary Shelley's probably right.
No.
Oh, he's not there. He's like a movie. He's from.
He's
movie.
like not MGM, but who was it that made the vampire?
There was no. It was a very sort of solitary person. I remember. In the book. It was very. I think there was really just two people.
That story was all improv by her in like some kind of castle. She's like, tell us a story. And she just started saying that story.
Right.
Made it up.
Gothic. The Ken Russell Gothic movie is about that.
Oh yeah.
That's very interesting because I always think of that story when thinking about any kind of technology because
Yeah, that's technology.
people get very scared about like new technology.
What's a new technology that we're just like not scared of? They came out and AI we are scared of, but like
I think it
like
comes,
VHS,
it
we were
comes
like
down to-
video drum. We were like very scared.
Fish freeze dried fish packing.
But it's like the question of
So we're not scared of that, but we are scared
Electric
of
bicycles.
those are they blow up
E-bikes.
your buildings.
yeah, there's
They
like
burn you down. What about flesh?
but like
Flesh that you could eat
I'm
that's made in
talking
a
about
lab.
like Adderall or Ozempic, like things that like they come down to like playing God, like altering the human course.
Yeah, it's
or,
almost like God. Yeah.
transhumanism. like you're playing God, and I think that's what the Frankenstein is about.
You can control your appetite, so you don't even have to meditate. You don't need no desires anymore. Like I don't desire that piece of cake anymore.
Yeah.
I just took some
You mean
Ozempic.
manipulating other people to that?
No, you take
Or-
Ozempic and you don't want to eat more cake.
There's also actually
you don't have
they're
to-
working on technology.
This is a fat pill,
Yeah, it's
anti-fat pill.
Yeah.
it just
They're-
makes you not hungry.
They're working on technology that will make you that stimulates certain parts of your brain to make you feel what enlightenment feels like complete non-duality. They're also working on technology that
As if anybody knows. As if they know what. Oh, this is what we gotta nail down. I mean, it's
Well, I mean, what happens in your brain when you take the LSDs and stuff?
I think it might have
Non-dualities,
be
right?
something like that.
they should. They don't know anything about what happens. I think it has a lot to do with light. Actually, like my experience on LSD was like the light that's coming in because I was wearing contacts, and it dilates your eyes, and then it's a lot to do with information sensors like opening wider for like light.
Can you go over that story that you told me on the island about how you had an experience in the forest? Is that the same experience, or is that another?
Yeah, that's the same
That was the
experience.
So what happened? You went to.
I went to the forest, and I started to see a lot of anthropomorphic. The longer I stared at them, the trees were becoming more anthropomorphic. I saw this one tree that I was pretty convinced was an explanation for like Gothic architecture, because it had this like strange lattice.
So that people who made Gothic architecture were inspired by trees?
I was like, oh, this tree explains it. Like this is a Gothic tree or something. I don't know. And then I found these trees at the end of the walk to be like super emotional. I like stared up at this tree, and I was like, oh, I was like quaking before this giant tree, and then it was like this very vertical tree, and I was like, oh, the tree of the Father or something. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, I can hide under this tree. And I went under this like very
Maternal.
yes, I went into this maternal tree, and I was like, this is okay. But the trees were like very sort of hitting me harder and harder, and I was like, I gotta get out of this forest. And, but yeah, it's, making drugs I'm like, why? There's just so many people that are so useless, and they go around and they think, oh, what the world needs is a enlightenment simulating drug. I'm like, just shoot yourself, please, like, and take care of like two birds with one stone. Like, don't invent that. Don't get into the enlightenment business. But I guess that's like all of human history is just like people selling fake enlightenment to other people.
Your religion, or just the
Religion,
ways of politics and
everything. But it's just like, I don't know, that just sounds like the worst thing. I really, besides cigarettes and coffee.
There's also, they're working on technology that will make you have lucid dreams. And I as a person who lucid dreams, I find it a little bit exciting and a little bit threatening.
How do you,
I would like to
Switch
do lucid. I would, instead of like consuming content, it would be a way for you to create your own content all the time, so that you don't have to subscribe to the New York Review of Books. You don't have to subscribe to Netflix. You don't have to subscribe to the Book of the Month Club.
but like the only pleasure of fiction is to like get outside of your own head.
Yes, very good.
Like-
good.
Right, but in lucid dreaming, your your subconscious is you don't know what's in there. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you don't know
It's
if-
actually completely foreign.
You
You
don't
know it's not someone else.
You
Unless
know
you're-
it's not someone else, but you don't
Been
know.
invaded.
You don't know for
Unless you've
sure
been
if
invaded.
it's not somebody else.
It could be
Somebody's coming
somebody else.
at you. Isn't that like a movie where somebody comes in your dream? It's Freddy Krueger. He's coming to get you.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Lucid
Yeah. That is
I mean-
what's going on.
That has to do with why I wouldn't be into the lucid dreaming drug, because I was really scared of Nightmare on Elm Street before I even saw them. Because my friends would describe the plot so vividly, and they'd be like, then Freddy's coming down the boiler room.
It was very scary. Like it's unbelievably. It wasn't just like his whatever he looked like, but the fact that he was in, like just his power.
I'm gonna start.
He's invading your dreams,
Yeah.
just like
Like
somebody in your just like content, just like an ad, pop-up ad is
Yeah.
popping up in your
Oh yeah, like a
and you're like, I
virus.
just want to have. Yeah, he's parasitical. He's a really great figure. He's a really great like myth figure. But yeah, shit. So you would take that. How do you control the lucid dreams? Like, how do you?
I haven't done it for a long time, but I got really into it, and I think you really do have to like be in a place to do it. But you can't control it at all. But you're aware, and you can control it a little bit by. Like, it's the same as art. Like in art, you can't control unless you're just like a master Leonardo da Vinci or something. But mostly we're just kind of mucking about. Like you have to let go of control and just you have to things happen in the dream, and how you react to the dream changes the dream. So if you're scared of something, it'll get more scary, and if you're interested in something, it gets more interesting. But you're not completely lucid. You're only partly lucid. Like you know it's a dream, but you're not fully. You're not as aware as you are in the daytime.
Mm-hmm. And things happen in the dream that like a mushroom will start talking to you, but you wouldn't necessarily know that that's going to happen.
Yeah. You don't create that mushroom is there, but then you can still react to the mushroom.
But you did create it though.
You did, yes, but you weren't aware of creating.
But you're subconscious. You're maybe Jungian, whatever.
And I'm very naive in my dreams. Last night I had a brief lucid dream in which I was hanging out with Juliette Collet, and we were just I suddenly became aware that we were dreaming, and I was like, "Hey, this is a dream," and she's like, "Oh, cool." She didn't lately I've been having these lucid dreams where I tell everybody, and they're just like, "Yeah, whatever." But in my dream, I think that they are there. I still thought that that was Juliet there, but it was like, hey, we're in this dream together. So it's it's kind of, I guess you would call it semi-lucid.
You should contact her and say, "Did you dream about me last night?"
That would be a little creepy.
But using that creepy voice.
Did you have any dreams?
And you should tell her that you're in her apartment.
That's always a good way to start to talk to somebody. Hey,
I
had a dream about you. Oh, really? It's like the ultimate unmotivated pickup line. You know, non sequitur pickup line. You don't even have to be like, "Excuse me, do you know what time it is?" or something. It's just somebody you want to talk to. Just be like, interesting. I had a dream about you last night.
I just told somebody I had a dream about them, but not
opening and
them.
closing an umbrella.
But about every single person that they ever knew or met, and how they completely disapproved or just were just dismissive of me.
Wait, what?
The dream was about you.
The
dream was about you.
It was about me, ultimately. It was through this other person but not even then. It was about every person that they've ever known or met. In their lifetime.
I had a dream about you last night. Actually, it was kind of about me, but it was.
Well, this is how you get someone to listen to your dreams: is you tell them they were in it, and then tell them.
But
Nobody wants to hear your dreams.
But I loosely. Yeah, dreaming sucks. What's good though?
Dreaming on paper.
Dreaming on
paper. There you go.
I mean, the dream of the cartoon Utopia, not cartoon Utopia, that's Ron Rigi. Not to diss Ron Rigi, but what I wanted to say was, I miss Floyd, I want to say it on camera, and his cartoon Prophecy, that's what it was called.
Oh, tell us more about the Prophecy.
He was just like, him and Apple, who I'd never met before, were like, "You guys are coming to draw at our house, right?" And Mark Bell and I were like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We're going to stay up all night." It's already midnight. And they're like, "Viva the cartoon prophecy."
That's beautiful.
Like, "What is the cartoon prophecy?" And they're like, "It's a prophecy that's unfolding Apple started it. It's like, and more like mystical, mystical pronouncements and stuff about comics, and the cartoon prophecy is like about to begin, or it has already begun in San Francisco.
So Apple is the prophet, the new prophet.
Whoa,
Apple, I think
or the
it's-
prophetess.
Yeah, Apple is the prophet. I think she's revealing.
Uh,
I think also her place was called like something like the Cartoon Prophecy was the name of that apartment, which was like carpeted apartment, like West Coast style, but like covered with like ink stains.
Nice.
And then, like,
if you have carpeting, you should have ink stains. That's the best way to do it.
it was just like
And
Let's put
classic.
some ink stains on this carpet.
Oh no! Oh no!
I
Don't do it.
just stained it.
Oh,
we
my.
actually brought this
sacrifice.
this
to
analyst.
the cartoon prophet.
It's from this analyst's office, the one underneath here. So
Oh
the
wow!
carpeting. So it has a lot of vibes of like people, patients.
Their subconscious is in here. This
Probably.
is lucid dreaming.
That's why I think this is working.